Hi everyone, welcome to Module 3. For Module 3, you're going to be reading Chapters 8 and 9. You have quiz number 2. Remember, on quiz number 2, you have 2 attempts, 25 multiple choice questions, 60 minutes for each of the attempts, and I take the highest of the 2 attempts. Now for this week, we're going to be focusing on the role of the cost of doing businesses. When we look at firms are facing a lot of issues. And the issues they're facing is how to do business given their cost and revenue. When we look at output and resources, you'll notice that we're looking at the supply is the quantities of output that sellers are willing and able to offer for sale at every price. And when we look at the business charges, let me get to this. When you look at production costs, you notice that firms are going to be dealing with variable cost, which are costs of production that are changing when more output's being produced, and fixed costs, which are costs that do not change when more is being produced. And examples of fixed costs would be like rent. So when you look at a business, they're not going to be changing the rent. The rent will be the same every month. When we look at these, you'll notice that variable costs will change, and variable costs change depend on how total costs change. When a firm is evaluating their decisions, they need to look at both their fixed and variable costs. And the key is to keep their fixed and variable costs in check. Now when we look at the average total cost is taking the total cost, this column right here, and you're dividing it by output. So total cost divided by output. This will give you the average total cost. Now, why is the average total cost important? The average total cost is important because it looks at how much on average does it cost a firm to produce X amount of goods. So for them to produce 30 units of output, it costs them on average for each of those units $233. That is the average total cost to produce 30 units. And you notice the average total cost goes through this U shape. It decreases and then it starts to increase as firms take advantage of their increase in their factor. We also are looking at different definitions, and you have a lot of different costs this week that you're going to focus on. You want to focus on how businesses have to deal with these costs. And when businesses deal with these costs, they have to figure out how to operate effectively. So when you look at this week, make sure to you're not going to get a lot of formulas because there's really only one formula. Total cost equals fixed plus variable cost, and then the averages is just dividing by output. So really focus on what we're looking at each week in terms of how the costs are developed. I think this will help you with your analysis. If you have any questions or if you need additional resources, please let me know, but I look forward to your effort.